Good evening. Another hand for Zoltan, please. Great stuff. Great stuff. How's everybody doing tonight? It's great to see you out here. I want to thank you sincerely for coming out tonight. Each and every one of you. It means a lot to me that you're here. I'm really glad. I want to give a special thanks to the folks here at the Improv for giving me a bunch of free tickets to give to all my friends and family. And I see all three of you could make it. So thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Good stuff. You know, the club manager originally asked me to perform for 2 hours. And I looked at him the same way I look at my wife when she asked me to perform for 30 minutes. And you know, my wife says after we're done having sex that I always look at the clock, like I'm trying to gauge, you know, how long I was performing. And that's not true. I mean, I do look at the clock, but you know, I just want to know how much sleep I'm going to get. You know, if I'm going to bed at 11. But she insists that I'm timing myself. So the last time we were fooling around, I unplugged the clock and you know, got down to business. And when we were done, I turned to her and I said, "Hey, hon, do you have the time on your watch?" And she said, "No, I'm afraid I don't have a second hand." So yeah, she thinks she's a comedian. But now I know you had to pay tonight, you know, and I think that's okay, because if you were going to see Jerry Seinfeld, for instance, you would have paid 5 times more, and I'm half as funny as him, so that's a pretty good value for you. I also know that there's a 2-drink minimum, and but I've been told that I'm much funnier after 4 drinks, so that's just a recommendation for you. But how many people are on a first date tonight? Anybody on a first date? See, I don't like to see that. Yeah, I don't like to see that. That puts a lot of... A first date, huh? That puts a lot of pressure on me, because if I'm not good, then the young lady goes back home and she says, yeah, he took me to see some lame-ass comedian. And if I'm really good and the relationship lasts, and then the time they get in a first big fight, the guy looks back and he goes, "Damn, if that guy wasn't so damn good." So either way, I lose. And so anyway, you know, I'm going to give you a tip tonight, though. If you've been dating and you're trying to tell if somebody is sexually interested in you, I'm going to give you some tips. For guys, if you're out with a woman and she's caressing her hair, or she starts caressing her neck, or the stem of a wine glass, that's an indication that she's interested in you sexually, okay? And ladies, a sign that a guy is interested in you sexually, he showed up for the date. That's all you need to know. And that's not the only thing. I can wait. That's not the only thing that every guy in this room has in common. I guarantee every guy in this room has, at one point or another, whether he admits it or not, has said to a woman, "Come on, let me just put it in a little." You see? The proof is in the pudding there. Now, hey, I'm a guy, right? So, but the sad thing is not one of those guys ever kept his word. But the joke's on them, because many of the women that they said that to thought they had. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. That's that boomerang humor I tell people. It comes back. You'll get it. But of course, not all relationships end well. I'd been dating this girl for a while, and I'd suspected that she was cheating on me. And you know, the normal signs, you know, the phone would ring, I'd answer it, and there'd be a hang-up. I'd try and call her at work, and I couldn't get a hold of her. One day we were getting ready to go out, and I was ironing a shirt, and while I was ironing it, I was thinking, I don't remember getting this shirt. Where did this shirt come from? And I'm ironing it, and I said, "This isn't my shirt. Honey, whose shirt is this?" And she came in the room and she said, "Wow, yours, I guess." And I finished ironing it, and I looked at it. It wasn't even my size, so I hung it up in the closet. Well, a couple weeks later, I saw her with another guy through the window of a restaurant, and I confronted her, and she admitted everything. But the worst part of it, the guy was wearing the shirt I ironed for him. Yeah, that stung. Yeah. But it's great to be performing here a little bit closer to home. I perform a lot at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach, and that's quite a drive. And I already commute from Murrieta to Camp Pendleton every week, so I don't really like to drive too much. And it's not just the distance, but it's how rude the drivers are. You know, the other day I was on the freeway and this guy in a van cuts right in front of me like I'm invisible. And on the back of the van, it had the company he worked for. It said Advanced Communications. Apparently he wasn't skilled in basic communication, like using a blinker. So when I pulled up alongside of him, I helped him out. I showed him how to communicate effectively using only one finger. And people like to put those things on the back of the window, don't they? They like to say, I've got 6 kids. You know, they put all those stickers up. I've got 8 kids. The other day I saw this guy in a pickup truck. He had over 100 condom stickers on the back of his window. Saying, I don't have any kids, so. But isn't it interesting how anybody driving much slower than us is an idiot? Anybody driving much faster than us is a maniac? Well, I drive a BMW, so if somebody's tailgating me, I can go from idiot to maniac in 3.5 seconds. And I think, guys, isn't it interesting how you know, we do like window shopping when we're on the road, right? We're looking at the cars as they're passing us, and we're looking at cars we're passing. And isn't it interesting how we're looking in these cars, we're looking at these beautiful women in the cars as if one of them is going to motion for us to pull over and have sex with them. Is that just me? Am I the only one that does it? Okay. All right, where's my wife? I was just joking about that. But fortunately, I don't have to commute every day. I'm on a 4-10 schedule. You're familiar with this? I work 4 days a week, 10-hour days. And, but I don't have to work on Friday. But people get excited on Friday, right? TGIF? Do you get excited on Fridays? Right? Well, I don't work on Fridays. Thursday is my Friday. So I walk around saying S-H-I-T. People ask me what that means, and I tell them I'm so happy it's Thursday. You know, this is the first time that I've performed here at the Improv. And it's quite a step up from where I first performed when I first started. And I learned that very early on in my comedy career, you have to take advantage of every opportunity that you can get and perform anywhere you can. So for instance, one of the first clubs or the places that I performed was at an old folks home in a retirement community. And I was a little nervous at first, but after I got a few laughs, I started to settle down. And by the end of the show, they made me feel like a rock star because some of the old ladies were so excited they started throwing their diapers up on stage. You know, a delayed reaction. So a buddy of mine asked me, said, what was the highlight of the evening? And I said, depends. So, you know, the neat thing about performing in front of a bunch of old folks is you can recycle your jokes because they can't remember you told them already. Now, I got that gig at the old folks home because I'd done some volunteer work there for them. And I had learned that senior citizens, many of them, have not used computers, learned how to use computers, and nobody's taken time to show them how. So I decided to give them a class on the vast uses of the internet and how it's really become the primary source of information, replacing the newspaper. And that was very rewarding. There's really nothing as satisfying as the look on the face of a 70-year-old man when he first learns how to surf porn on the internet. So, you know, there was a Supreme Court justice once said, I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. Now, I never professed to be as smart as a Supreme Court justice, so it usually takes me about an hour to determine if it is. You know, I learned another thing while I was at the old folks' home. I learned that a man's nose and ears continue to grow throughout his entire life. I think the same should be true for his penis. Maybe elderly men would get a little more respect, huh? She's all for it. Got one signature on the ballot. But yeah, it's tough being a comedian. You know, a lot of people ask me, you know, where do you get your jokes from? How do you write your jokes? Where do you get your material? And believe it or not, I get a lot of my stuff from just standing in the shower, letting the water run over me and just letting my mind wander. My wife says it's easy for me to write jokes in the shower because all I have to do is look down for inspiration. You know, I've been here to the Irvine Spectrum before, and but not for a while, so I had to pull up directions on MapQuest. Maybe some of you did too. And I think MapQuest could start on line 5, don't you? I'm pretty sure I can get out of my own neighborhood. So, you know, I was planning a trip on MapQuest with my family recently, a cross-country trip, and I put in my address, and then I put in the East Coast address, and then it asked me to select my mode of travel. And one of the modes was on foot. And I'm thinking, on foot, what am I, Forrest Gump? And I thought, maybe this is how the police track serial killers. If you're planning an interstate trip on foot, you're probably up to no good. So even with the directions on MapQuest, I still had a little bit of difficulty because I had taken the 91, and which has signs for SR 91. I had taken the 57, which, if you don't know, also has signs for Orange Freeway. And so I wasn't really sure that I was on the right road or if I was even going the right direction. So I pulled over, and I'm looking left and I'm looking right. I'm looking left, I'm looking right. I must have looked as confused as a breastfeeding baby at Hooters. Do you guys like Hooters? How many people are big fans of Hooters? How many people are fans of big Hooters? Yeah, all right. Okay, now the character's coming out. Well, I like Hooters. I went into a Hooters one time. I was planning a golf tournament as a fundraiser, and I went into a Hooters and I asked the manager if I could hire a couple girls to help greet the players and help with the registration, and then once the tournament got started, they could ride around in a golf cart and sell raffle tickets. So he said, "Sure, I'll give you 2 girls for 2 hours for $100. Do whatever you want with them." And then I asked him, I said, "Well, what's the weekend rate?" I could think of some things to do with them. But anyway, I am Mike Dittamo, the award-winning comedian. And I know some of you are thinking, "Geez, I wonder what award he's won." And some of you are thinking, "Geez, he's a pompous ass." It's true, I did win the GI Comedy Boot Camp competition. That's a competition among all the services held at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach. But more importantly, I'm an award-winning dad. In fact, I'm the world's greatest dad. And I say that not only because I have the coffee mug that I bought at a garage sale, but because I'm very involved in my kids' lives. I have 3 wonderful children, 5 total. And why are you laughing? And I'm very involved in their schoolwork, because I think that's important. And those of you that have school-age children know that they often come home with these very complex projects that require parental involvement. And I always help them. In fact, I ended up getting stuck doing the whole project for them. And I always do my best. And as a result, I was recently selected as Student of the Month at Dorothy McElhaney Middle School. And I'm proud of that because, I wasn't a particularly good student when I was in school. Some people graduate cum laude. Some people graduate magna cum laude. Some graduate summa cum laude. But when I graduated, it was more like, "Thank you, Lordy." So that's when I first started thinking about doing comedy. I figured, I didn't need a Harvard degree to perform comedy. I remember watching comedians. I was a big fan of comedians. I remember the first time I went to a comedy club, I never laughed so hard in my life. Everything I heard was hilarious. Wait a minute. That wasn't a comedy club. That was the Army recruiting office. Well, I didn't join the Army, as you might expect. I did talk to a Navy recruiter one time, but I didn't join the Navy either. I couldn't get excited about joining an organization that was led by a rear admiral in charge of all the seamen.